Welcome to the Valley Today, a public service presentation of KAIL-TV. Children's Hospital Adaptive Sports Program provides free recreational experiences for those with disabilities. Join us as we visit with Jennifer Crocker, Lorna Lynott, and Brent Poppin up next on the Valley Today.
You feel comfortable? Yeah?
Welcome to the Valley Today, a fine presentation of this great station and the Community Affairs Show. Today we have the distinct pleasure of being at the Valley Children's Hospital, and I have the pleasure of talking with Dr. Jennifer Crocker. Now, Doctor, I almost take it for granted now that Valley Children's is here. I remember when this was just an empty field. How long have I been taking Valley Children's for granted? Because it's quite an edifice now.
Yeah, well, they've been out at this location for 12, 13 years now, and the place has grown substantially just with the move physically.
Indeed.
But I think that the services, the specialists, and the patient population that we treat has grown immensely, much more than people were anticipating.
And this is a multifaceted facility. I mean, to drive upon this place now, again, taking it for granted that we've driven past it so many times and it used to not be here, it's huge. And so you must have all kinds of departments and variations of how you assist children. And one of the topics we're going to discuss today is adaptive
Sports.
Mm-hmm. And I have to regress for a moment, because when I was a kid, children with disabilities, we didn't even refer to them in that category. A different name was associated with people with disabilities, mm-hmm. as we know, and that's been refined over time. And twas a time when I was a kid, the child with a disability was probably the unlucky person in the corner who didn't get to participate in anything. So that's what adaptive sports, I presume, is the integral part of getting children involved again and feel like they're participating and getting back in society. Can you tell me a little bit of history and how long the hospital's been here and how this program evolved?
Yes, that very issue is really what the program has been designed to cater to and open up the awareness for everyone, because even though we're so far away from those times that you're describing, it really is still in people's front of her mind, mm-hmm. that is where people with disabilities should remain, on the sidelines, cheering for their able-bodied brother, sister, watching professional Olympic sports for people that have no disability. And we know that in the sporting world that has changed dramatically. We can get to a very, very high level of competition and athlete development and participation in a variety of things, and we just really want to open that back up to the people that may not be aware of it. The second part of the program is to design the opportunities to have children or young people with a disability to be able to be involved in anything that they want to. And the problem with being able to just see that on TV and say, hey mom, let's go down and join an adaptive baseball team, is that the equipment that needs to be used for someone to adapt for a physical disability is very hard to come by. It's expensive, and it often requires a little bit of knowledge on how to use them, and so that makes access in a regular community difficult for those kids and those families.
All right. This facility here in Madera was, mm-hmm. do you know essentially when it was built? Because again, we take it all for granted, and yet it's a beautiful facility.
Oh wait, 2001.
2001,
mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Very good. And adaptive sports, can you give me a brief summarization of how that program evolved and when we started to address those issues and mold it into the program that it is today?
Yeah, so I think the interest has been here in certain specialists, but the opportunity and the awareness on how to start a program really didn't come along until I joined the faculty 4 years ago. And as soon as I gathered the interest of the therapists and the nurses, the teams that were here, I realized that we could build that program here. I'd been involved in various programs at other places in the country. And so we really just have started this 4 years ago. And we went from really a volunteer staff, couple people driven outing, where we begged, borrowed, stealed equipment and tried to find a place to do something that someone didn't mind if we were there, and had a couple people with no budget, to, over the last year, a really solid hospital program that serves the Central Valley in all the different areas of sport, recreation, with the ability to grow.
Now, I presume that this is the hub for the Central Valley. Obviously, it's the only children's hospital, one of the few in California, and perhaps one of the finest, I might add. So you draw essentially from almost all of California, I would believe, not just the Central Valley.
Well, certainly the hospital has a very large catchment area, and we tap into that for our small program of the adaptive sports. But the word spreads pretty quickly when a couple people have done something really cool, and people start to hear about the program. They have friends or children that are interested in it, then they seek us out. And our goal is to try to make it easier to find us and easier to access.
Not that many months ago that there was an unfortunate situation where there was a break-in where you were storing equipment for this program specifically. And I believe it was at a storage facility in Clovis, of all places. But you were the unlucky number or building that was broken into, and could you kind of summarize what the value of things were and what was taken from that facility? Because it was a burglary.
It was a very unfortunate event. We were a little traumatized emotionally in the beginning, but the response from our community, the outpouring of support when that was publicized to the equipment that we lost, I think just speaks testament to how much people think that this is an important part of our not just hospital but community, because we had so much support, people calling in to help us replace the equipment that we lost, get us new equipment, continue our growth, that it was really heartening.
And you said that you started out with a small collection of people that were interested in this. Was this a dedication of passion, or is it an emerging bureau of Valley Children that's constantly growing?
I think both of those are accurate.
Both of them?
We certainly started with passionate people here who want to help and really knew that this was a good place to help children in a way that makes them psychologically, socially, emotionally, and physically better in their life. And so we have a couple of physical therapists, some occupational therapists, our rehab team of neuropsychologists and social workers and nurses and doctors here and there. We had a handful of us. And now we have a very big group of people from the hospital that support and join and donate.
Can you estimate a staff level that you've achieved at this point?
We have a committee meeting every month of the core committee that people have kind of been driving all the areas of the program, and we have about 25 or 30 people that are on that steady committee. And then we often have events where we'll have anywhere from 25 people in the community with their children or neighbors or people to participate to 100 people. The water ski clinics are very across the board adaptable. We can do a lot of different things, a lot of different levels of participation, and we have a lot of support in that area, and so that's one of our bigger clinics.
Very good. Now, I know I'm looking at your name tag, and I know your name, Dr. Crocker, and it says MD. How do you find the time? I mean, this probably takes up weekends or holidays and things like that, because, and again, is it primarily based on water activities, or are there other fundamental programs that coincide with the water activities? Because again, I'm referring back to the break-in, and that's what I understand was the kayaks, the water skis, probably tow ropes, life jackets, etc. And so I was led to believe that perhaps it was all water-based. Is there other aspects besides the primary, which is water, I know, but are there other facets of this?
Absolutely, and I think as you're touching on our time commitment, it's a labor of love at this point. We definitely reach out to people if they have time to offer us, because there is so many hours in a day, but I think that everybody is just passionate and dedicated to keep it going, that we give up that free time. And it is volunteer based, no one's getting paid to do anything. Because of that, the equipment that we use has been purchased with donations. We don't have a budget, the hospital doesn't have a budget for us in that area, and so we've been able to gather support in that way. The water ski and the water program was our first attempt at getting a clinic going to kind of test the interest and see if there's something that we could be able to do, and it was very successful right away. And it's fun, and again, it's a wide range of adaptation, so there's a lot of people that can participate. So that's definitely our biggest one, but we've also been able to do 2 rock climbing clinics, kayak clinics. We've been now doing wheelchair tennis, and we are hoping to get some snow skiing equipment or snow ski opportunities. We have some interest in basketball, hoping we'll be able to do that, and we've been doing track and field, wheelchair racing, and then some field events as well.
Well, that's very good because because our troops are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and you do see some film clips from time to time of amputees and so forth that volunteered for our country's service. And I have seen film clips of them perhaps playing basketball in wheelchairs, and it looks pretty aggressive to me. These guys are slamming into each other and going for the hoop. I've also seen track demonstrations where these gentlemen are running on curved springs of sorts and can go pretty darn fast, I can see. So what you've taken is, I'm trying to see if it's the chicken before the egg scenario. Did you look at returning veterans and see what their capabilities were, and then say, hey, we could apply this to the children of the Valley? Is that kind of a step process that it went through?
That's been the succession. It really did start with ex-veterans coming back from the war and having disabilities that began the adaptive sports movement. And then things got younger and younger and people wanting to be involved. And really, you can get to a very high level of competition.
With that said, the water is still your primary focus, correct?
I wouldn't say primary focus. It's definitely one of our bigger opportunity clinics, but I think that one of our other focuses is to be able to sponsor competitive teams and get individual athletes that we have trained to the level of the Paralympics and to the level of high impact quad rugby or basketball.
And how have you been successfully getting the word out to make this program grow? Because obviously it's seems to be a big draw, and I'm sure the kids are getting a tremendous amount of enjoyment out of it. And what do you do? I guess you would network with other doctors at other hospitals and say, hey, we're available and can do this for you, and then maybe perhaps they transport patients to the Valley specifically for this?
Right now, we haven't tapped into the physicians as closely as really just the community members and of our patient load. So we have a lot of patients here that we know would be able to be participating, and we kind of give them pamphlets and spread the word and send emails and put post-it notes up at our sister's basketball game, or just kind of try to do word of mouth in addition to media. Our committee is made up of doctors, nurses, hospital employees, therapists, teachers. We're not media. We're not good in that area. We're not publicists. And so we've had to tap into the resources at the hospital that already do that, and then to our community to help us spread the word.
Very good. Well, Dr. Crocker, we're almost out of time in this first segment. Could you give us perhaps a phone number or an email address or a website that people could go to?
Absolutely. And we do have a website tagged on to the Children's Hospital website. But we also have a Facebook that's Children's Hospital Adaptive Sports Program.
Very good.
And so there's that avenue, and then you can access from the phones, it's 559-353-6130, and that will get you in touch with somebody that's doing the clinic.
We're talking about adaptive sports, and I have a couple of guest speakers here today, one of which is Lorna Lynott, and I'd like to give her the microphone, and I will do that right now. Lorna?
Hi.
A couple things. We've already covered a little bit of history about adaptive sports. Where do you like to go to do this? Where are some locations that are ideal for this situation?
For adaptive
for adaptive sports,
well,
yes.
The adaptive sport that I am involved in is the water skiing portion. We help the kids out with a facility out in Sanger. It's a private water ski lake. It's really big. So the kids come out, and kids and adults, they come out and we help them get in and out and follow them around on jet skis and teach them how to water ski.
So you're essentially boat, ropes, the whole bit. You saddle them up, get them in the harnesses, and pull them around the lake. And I imagine they must be thrilled about this. A new sense of freedom, perhaps.
Yeah. It's big, strong men doing it. I'm not usually the one pulling them out and in, but it's it's a lot of fun to see. I'm a water skier, so it's really fun to see other people get to enjoy something.
Now, is that the only location you go to, or have you loaded up a van full of people and maybe gone to Lake Tahoe or to Shaver Lake or something like that, or are you just keeping it close to home for now?
For now, I think they're working on getting people involved in the Valley, but I'm sure a trip up to Tahoe or Shaver would definitely be fun for a lot of people. So,
do you foresee perhaps someday a team that could be representative of the Central Valley and compete against other similar situations throughout California?
Absolutely. I think a competition water ski team would be would be a lot of fun. And there's amateur leagues and novice teams in all over California that they could definitely compete with.
Yeah, so again, we're still at the very beginnings of this, essentially, and I think from what I can gather, being a layman in terms of the medical field, I can see a eventual competition, Valley versus the Bay Area or something like that. I mean, it's not out of the stretch of imagination, and since you're involved in the water sports, we probably, is that the easiest way to ease people into this? Because when you fall, you don't hit the ground or do something serious to yourself. It's just water sports. So it's minimally invasive in terms of wear and tear on the body, but
drowning
it has its dangers too.
Tends to be a danger to most people's health, but it is really dangerous. We have a lot of safety nets out there to make sure that nobody gets seriously injured while they're there. And we've got people following along with the kids in the water. We've got help people when they go in the water. Originally, somebody holding on to them until they get up behind the boat. We've got safety collars in the boat. So if somebody lets go or falls over, that there is somebody there within seconds to make sure that they are. They're not in
cared
harm's
for
way.
and not in harm's way. Okay, very good. Well, I look forward to those competitions and the opportunities that this program presents, because, as we said, people of all shapes and sizes need to get athletics, keep the body sharp and the mind sharp, and you're providing that service, and I might add that they're doing it on their own time. Imagine that, people that are devoted enough to give up their weekends and holidays to help these people. I think it's a marvelous aspect of what you do. Now we have another gentleman. I'm going to steal the microphone. Would you please introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm Brent Poppin, one of the peer counselors at Children's Hospital.
And your job description, could you go a little more in depth there and help us out with that?
I'm one of the counselors here that deals with the children and the families. I myself have not always been in a chair. I got hurt when I was 16. And so I wish there would have been someone like me for my family and for myself in a rehab position to kind of guide them and show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the void that I fill here.
And of the activities, which do you tend to migrate towards? Are you like Lorna? Are you more into the water aspect of this thing?
Well, being a Paralympic athlete, I play wheelchair rugby and wheelchair tennis. But if someone asked me and said, here's a free weekend, what would you want to do? I would say, give me a boat and my water ski, and I'd be happy to spend the day on the water.
Is there a certain age group that you guys key in on specifically, or is it wide open at this point? I mean, I myself, I couldn't see toddlers out there in that, but maybe there's a certain age where you start to groom the kids to get into this athletics?
It's equal to what you would have with able-bodied kids. I think the ages are wide open, and if a kid's old enough to able-bodied water ski, that same age kid would be old enough to get in an adaptive ski and be part of our program.
And again, this is wakeboarding, kayaking, any other water?
We're fortunate here at Children's Hospital that the hospital backs the program enough that we have our own equipment, which is skis that have outriggers, so that it's virtually impossible for the kids to fall, which would be a beginner ski, all the way up to advanced wakeboards that don't have any outriggers, or advanced slalom skis that the kids could progress to. And even if it's not water skiing, we have inner tubes for the kids to ride in. And it's just important, from our point of view, not only is it therapy, but it's a chance for parents to see their kids do something that they might not have ever thought they had a chance to do again. And so when you see a kid smile and you see a mom, a dad, or a grandma, or a brother and sister seeing their kid doing something they enjoy that they didn't think they could do, is what makes it worthwhile for us.
So I could say that you're kind of the Goodwill Ambassador to embrace the people that qualify for this program and kind of get the parents involved as much as possible and coordinate with Lorna and perhaps Dr. Crocker as well.
Well, we as Children's Hospital, I think, are the ambassadors, and we appreciate the families that have these lakes that allow us to be on them, because it gives us an opportunity where we don't have to battle against the general public when you're out on a public lake like Shaver
Or
Millerton. But when you're on a private lake, such as we're going to be using, it's a chance for the kids to experience it in the best possible atmosphere.
Yeah, very good. And in a controlled environment, as Lorna has told me.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a safety net, so there's risk in any sports, let's face it, but this seems to be minimal in terms of that, and it's most highly productive in the athletic prowess of people in this condition. May I borrow this for a second?
Absolutely.
I'm going to give it back to you. Again, the lake, I'm sort of familiar with where it is. It's out on where again now?
It's out in Sanger.
Sanger, okay. Private lake, big enough for a ski boat to get on and
Yes.
do it. So the kids can get up to a pretty good speed and so forth.
Yes.
Do you have any daredevils in the group that say, I want to go faster or?
Yeah, some of the older kids last
Okay.
year, they were definitely, there's definitely some friendly competition between the teenagers. Usually was the ones
All
that
right.
wanted to.
Now,
who could do better.
when you do this, I imagine you have an orientation probably here at the hospital for the starting point, and then or do you just all meet up at the lake and say, come on up and we're waiting for you?
Well, last year we met beforehand, before people started coming out, and did a little bit of training and how it was all going to work, so it all ran smoothly. Everyone needed to have their job and where to be. So.
Okay, and forgive me if I may repeat myself again. How long has the program been in effect, and you look forward to ongoing indefinitely, I would presume, correct?
4 years is adapted
4
the
years.
adaptive fitness program here, and we just started doing having the program out to the property last year.
Very good, very good. All right, can you tell me a little bit about, now I know water is your expertise and both of you like that a lot, but give me a little something about more about your basketball, and I even believe you said tennis.
Tennis and wheelchair rugby.
Wheelchair rugby, there you go. Wheelchair rugby, now that ought to be interesting. Give us a little rundown on a couple of those if you can.
Well, they're both Paralympic sports, and wheelchair tennis is another program that we're getting involved with the hospital, and we're going to fill a void in the Central Valley also. And it's one that kids with disabilities can play with their parents. We play on the same court, same net, same rules. The only difference is that in a wheelchair, if you want to take the ball on 2 bounces, you're allowed 2 bounces. Otherwise, all the same rules apply. So it allows me to play with Dr. Crocker. It allows me to play with my parents. So it's an activity that the family could do with their son, whether they're newly disabled or born with a disability.
Very interesting. Lorna, you want to grab the mic and I'll ask you another question. When is your next event coming up, and what does your summer agenda look like so far? Are you booked all summer long, or do you kind of wait for those opportunities and then make an announcement and have people come by?
Well, the next water ski and wakeboard adaptive day out at the lake is this Sunday, June 10th, and we try to do a couple of summer. They have a lot of activities. They do more than just hang out with us at the lake. So
Yeah.
the next one's this weekend, but hopefully we can get a few more in after that.
Now, do you folks encourage the general public to come out and be spectators or cheer on the athletes, or is it more just for the children themselves?
It's mostly for the children. We do have a lot of volunteers. It's very well run, so we're never at a lack of volunteers. But it is a private facility, and
They'd like to keep it to the
keep it to
just
the
organization.
friends and family rather than.
Okay, very good.
very
Very
public.
good. Well, I'd like you to volunteer again your information on the web, if you can do that for me, phone numbers and so forth. And again, tell people how to get involved, perhaps through donations or even some volunteer work.
Yeah, absolutely. You can donate on the website and find any information at the Children's Hospital website, and under the adapted, there's a link there, and there's also a Facebook. Facebook's the Children's Hospital Adapted Sports.
Yeah,
So,
don't worry
there you
about
go.
it. We're going to have some graphics during this, and we'll also
Right there.
we'll post the numbers for you. I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but it's rewarding to see that all of you are so committed to this, and that you are really fostering a fantastic program. And with your participation and your ambassadorship to the families, it truly makes it something for the whole family to do, as you said. And I've seen some guys play tennis before in wheelchairs, and they could beat me. I know they could. So basketball, that'd be another one. I'd have to learn how to do my bumper car routine before I could get out there and hustle with those guys. But again, thank you very much for being involved in the community and helping the children. And again, you draw everywhere from Bakersfield to Sacramento primarily. And I look forward to that day someday where you have a team.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Team Central Valley that goes out there and it takes it to the Bay Area or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate both of you being on the Valley today.